Welcome to Chapter 10. This one is right around my 2-page standard length, so I will apologize ahead of time for the brevity. To those of you afraid that this story will turn into some sort of salacious pornography, I say please do not jump to conclusions. On a more difficult note, it is possible that one of my future updates will be delayed up to a day. Thank you all for being here. Now let us commence. Arenes tossed the vellum aside in disgust. Not that it mattered, but she wondered whether the message had been sent as a warning or a threat. "We have to get out of here," she said, not even bothering to whisper. "Or hide somewhere." "Yeah, definitely," agreed Stephen, looking to her cage. She had been afraid he'd get that idea. While it was most certainly true that she wasn't quite ready to introduce Stephen to her skeleton friends just yet. For fear that he might take it the wrong way, she had other, more salient concerns. For one, while the bars might afford some small measure of protection, forcing their assailants to more carefully aim their shots, it was far from perfect. As much as she had moved around in there, they had always found a way to hit her before. But that alone did not give her pause. Some protection, even just to temporarily confound the enemy, beat nothing any night of the week. No, she wasn't going back into that tiny cage for one simple reason. She couldn't bring herself to go back in there, not after she had spent almighty knew how long alone inside that ossuary, with no time, no thoughts, nor company, hoping only for death to claim her and end the torment. Just thinking about it made her shake. "I don't think it'll work," she said. "We have to find something else." "We'll find something else after we get some cover in there," he said, stepping inside the cage to examine it. She heard a cascade of crunching noises. That had to be twine-argued. Stephen's foot had gone right through his chest, smushing some choice organs she'd been saving. "What the shit, Arenes?" she heard the man yell. "Is this? Oh God, it's like a slaughterhouse in here." She mentally shrugged. She doubted his feet were very clean, but she would be dead long before she worked up the courage to eat more of TWN's foul-tasting, rotting entrails anyway. "Don't be mad at me," she said, indignant. "You're the one who wasn't looking where he was going and ruined my supper. What a posh gentleman you are. Can't even stand to see where your meat comes from." "No, oh God, no." His voice barely above a whisper, his hand moving to cover his mouth and nose. He rolled TWYN's head to the side, examining the skull cavity. One of his eyes fell out. Though she had chewed most of his face off, she had gone to great trouble to leave them in there, so he seemed more interested in what she had to say. I think these were intelligent people. They made you eat them?" "Of course not," she said. "I could have starved or played their little games, got some gruel, and as my reward got to take a little longer to starve to death. But those lunatics, killing their own slaves just to feed you." "Slaves?" She cocked her head to the side, confused. "You mentioned something about that before. Maybe, but I don't think so. One of them was perfectly content to torture me all of his own accord. He seemed like he was rather enjoying himself, actually. The other two were his friends. I think they were in the employ of the warden." "Well, that makes it even worse," Stephen said. "I wonder why anyone would work for the captain if he was the kind of guy to dash." He paused, looking down at the remnants of the 3 monsters, then back to her. She grinned wide, flashing her pearly white teeth at him. She felt quite proud of her perfect smile. The corners of Stephen's mouth curled up in response. "Ah, I see. The captain didn't kill these people," he said in a flat tone. "Of course he didn't. Why would he do that?" "I did," she said. "They're monsters. They took me and tortured me. They deserve no less." "Right?" he said, nodding his head. "And you ate them. Want some?" she asked, sarcasm and humor laid on thick. "I could prepare some wonderful sausage for you out of that one's intestines, that one's innards, and the third one's back fat. Season with some slime mold and it's a supper fit for a queen. He appeared to be the opposite of amused. She sighed, seeing his revulsion had been genuine. I did it because I had to, my gentleman, not because I wanted to, she explained carefully. It's true that I don't entirely see this as cannibalism, which I know you're thinking because the thought crossed my mind too. The truth is, for whatever reason, I just can't seem to think of them as people, no matter what they say or how intelligent they seem. I cannot place myself as them, think as they would think, or feel ill for their illness. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. And what about me? He asked. It hurts me deeply that I hurt you without cause, she said, rubbing her chest. I feel for you as I would my own kin, and while I'm sure you would be absolutely delicious to eat, you are very clearly a person, so that would be cannibalism. Still, best to be on guard around me, she finished, playfully snapping her jaws at him. He walked to her and crouched down in front of her. Without warning, he gently tapped her on her nose. Just you try it, he said with what must have been a smirk. He leaned over her, scooping her into his arms. Embarrassed, she tried to help herself to her feet without him, but she was already standing with his assistance. No man from her people could have lifted her like that. Of course, no man she had ever seen was as large as him either. What are you doing? She asked. They had nowhere to go, except, first we get you to your feet, he said. Then we walk into the cage for some dash. No, 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 she said, pushing away from him. I don't care how big you are, you're not going to get me to go in there. Not now, not ever. He tried to urge her ever so gently into the cell. Come on. Arenes, we have to dash. No, she yelled into his face, her teeth narrowly missing everything from the furry patch above his left eye to the bottom of his chin. Shocked by what she had almost done, she looked away. I'm sorry. That isn't me. I just can't go in there. If that means I die standing here, then please just let it happen. Not a problem. I think I understand, said Stephen. And I'm sorry for trying to make you do something you didn't want to do. What if we climbed on top of the cage instead? The bars beneath us could still offer some protection. I could try that, she offered hopefully. But if we start and I don't want to anymore, then we stop and find some other way to protect ourselves. He finished for her. She nodded with a smile. Help me over there, she said. She leaned heavily on the tall man, still uneasy on her feet. You're heavy. What do you eat, lead? Just kidding. I know what you eat, he joked with a smile, wrapping one arm around her waist and pulling her other over his opposite shoulder. His hand had tickled where he held her above her hip, causing her stomach to tense. He took notice. That's why you must spend a lot of time in the weight room. Have you thought about switching to cardio? She was about to ask what that was, followed by asking what the next step was in their escape, when a loud cracking and whining noise startled her. It had come from the voice indentation in the wall. Their time had just ran out. It was bound to happen sooner or later. She cursed the warden for the 1000th time. The 7 hells, did the translators reactivate? Well, find out how before I send you in there to ask them. The warden's voice screamed, seemingly to neither she nor Stephen but somebody entirely unseen. Perhaps that person was in the adjacent room with the warden from whence he spoke. Night beast, you will slash the human until he bleeds out, immediately, or I will personally administer your bath time every single day, all day, until your skin is flayed from your bones. Wide-eyed, she felt the human shift beside her. I will not hurt this gentleman again, she yelled, unsteadily splaying her claws and rising on her pads to her full height, almost a head taller than Stephen. And I swear upon my honor as Her Imperial Majesty's Dame Commander that I will personally quarter your body and remove your head, in that order, with my bare feet. It was the first thing she had said to any of the takers, but she had let that particular secret go when she had introduced herself to Stephen. "So be it," said the warden. Two embrasures opened at opposite sides of the room, followed immediately by a pair of loud pops. Stephen heard the sounds and knew instantly that these dart guns were the poisoned arrows which Irenes had warned him of. At hearing the sound, he gave no thought to immediately pushing his companion away from him. She must have had the same idea because when his hands met her shoulders, her hands met his chest. They didn't so much as shove each other away as explode apart. Adrenaline was a hell of a drug. It was far too late for either of them, he knew. He could feel his dart jabbing into his back where he had landed on top of it, painfully forcing it deeper beneath his skin. He could see hers sticking out of her side, just at the level of what would be a kidney on a human. Against all odds, he saw her getting to her feet and staggering towards him. He marveled at her persistence and strength of will. Pulling himself to a seated position to yank the barbed dart from his back, he examined it carefully. A few millimeters of viscous blue liquid remained inside, but the rest had clearly been injected into his body. He wondered how much time he had. He wondered how much time Irenes had. She staggered to a dazed halt in front of him. Like a puppet with all her strings cut, she fell on top of him, pressing him to the deck.